To paraphrase Eric Draven, Father is the name for God on the lips of small children. Today we're going to talk about the Star Trek The Next Generation episode, The Offspring, which aired in 1990. It's episode 16 of season 3, and one of my personal favorites, even though it breaks my fucking heart every time I watch it. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and pause it and check it out. It's on Netflix. I think it's on Hulu. I'll wait. In this episode, Data builds a daughter. He calls her Lol, masterfully portrayed by Haley Todd, which gave her this kind of like beautiful innocence. So a lot of issues are explored, and I want to hold this up as an example of a way of making social commentary without forcing political conclusions on your audience. Now there are some idealistic differences embodied in the characters on the show, but it's not a you should do this or shouldn't do that. It's like, here's what's going on, and then you can think about it and be like, holy shit. It has to do with androids being treated as things instead of people, and in that sense it calls back to A Measure of a Man, and actually Picard makes reference to that episode, to the main antagonist. It's also interesting that they portray androgyny and gender as a thing that Lol could choose from. So she starts off as like a neutral body, and then she gets to pick her sex and appearance, which is kind of ahead of its time, because nowadays we have all these blurred definitions of what's a man and what's a woman. I don't, but it's an issue that's out there, and this is something that they were exploring back in 1990. So nothing new under the sun, right? And I am the father of a 5-year-old girl, so right away, like father-daughter shows or movies automatically tug at that heartstring. And it's no surprise that some of my favorite movies involve those themes. Man on Fire is classic, and that's exactly what a dad would do. I used to like Taken until Liam Neeson opened his mouth about gun rights, and he doesn't want anybody to have guns, but he'll sit there and shoot a gun and accept millions of dollars on the screen. Yeah. But nevertheless, the plot line of those two movies, as well as Logan, obviously, you have dads going to lengths for their daughters. And in this one, Data is exploring what it means to be a dad. And the thing about these androids is they have no emotion. And at one point he actually tells Dr. Crusher, I can give her attention, but I can't give her love. And then there's another point where Lol learns that humans like to hold hands as a sign of affection. And she reaches over and grabs his hand, and he holds her hand, but they're sitting there not knowing the feeling of love. They're just doing it. And it's kind of poignant. And in a lot of ways, Data is a better human than most of the other humans on the show. So let's take a look at some of the other story arcs there. Picard has a problem with Data just building a new android, and he has a hard time viewing her as his child until the antagonist comes in. But he finally accepts her as Data's child, and it's interesting to see Picard take a stance like that, because he's usually the first one to go the high route when it comes to new life forms. Data's arc is really crazy because of what happens to Law. And then Guinan has a subtle influence. It's interesting because Law is really intellectually smart, but she's like extremely socially awkward. So they put her to work in 10 Forward, and she gets to observe human behavior and all that kind of stuff. And that actually comes into play when the Admiral asshole shows up. So what happens is there's an admiral at Starfleet Intelligence or whatever, Cybernetics, who finds out about Law and decides that he wants to move her to his place so that he can influence her. And he just wants her. He doesn't want Data. And it's this whole, like, that's the main thrust of the conflict in the show. Now here's what's ironic, is that when he finally sits her down and he's like, look, you know, I want to take you, Law ends up suffering a cascade failure brought on by emotional awareness. So earlier when we were talking about how she doesn't have feelings, he made her scared. And this is what's fucked up. So like his actions prompted her demise. And you know, they go back to the lab and then the Admiral's like, can I help you try to fix her? And Data's like, yeah. And you know, he comes out saying like his hands are moving so fast I couldn't even see them, and he's just like fucked up. I don't know if he's remorseful or if he's just saddened over the loss of you know, another Soong type android. So it's like he caused her death and he was there at her funeral. And we learn that Law so enriched Data's experiences in life that he took her experiences and memories and incorporated it into his programming. So he has kind of like that, the journals from Omicron Theta, like he has her memories. Which is fucked up because Star Trek Nemesis, B4 gets to live, and he's an idiot. Why couldn't they let Law live? She was a much better character, and I think they had a lot of opportunity to do a story arc with her, kind of along the lines of Data, where he starts off really robot-like, and then he turns into a person. I don't really like Data with the emotion shit, but yeah. So through this episode we have vehicles to explore lots of different issues, and that's how you do it. Okay, all this shit going on with Star Trek Discovery, that's not how you do it. If you talk to TNG cast members, they don't like that show. And it kind of scares me to think about what they might do with Jean-Luc Picard under this new woke team of writers. I guess time will tell. So, if you have children, hug them close. Shows like this really show you what it means to be human, ironically, and what it means to have a love for your child. And that's the most important thing, you know. Little minds. You have to show them how to people. And if you don't do that, then that's why we have so many fucked up people in the world. Alright, you guys. My name is Mortal Coil. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, ding the bell, share the video, all that good stuff. Take care. I'll be seeing you soon.